Yes, we are finally live. Hey, you are welcome, welcome, welcome to another Thursday live with me, Dr. Jen, the number one purposeful parenting coach. I have missed coming on live, but one thing I certainly haven't missed is the network wahala that we have to navigate each time we have to have a session. So I'm sorry for the delays that we have, probably kept you waiting. For those who've been waiting for us to come on live, we're finally here. And please, sincere apologies for the delays that have been experienced. We're finally here, and I'm sure that this topic is going to excite you as much as it does excite me. We're going to be looking at three systems that every parent must build to thrive. Three hidden systems that successful parents are using that makes their parenting look like it's effortless, right? Systems are the reason why every successful parent is successful because systems do make parenting a lot more easier. And of course, who doesn't want it easier, right? I don't know about you, but for me, the easier the better. Now, I recently had a private session with a parent who was exasperated to say the least, right? She has been doing everything that she knows how. She has even hired two nannies. She's done everything. She has done from what she was telling me, she has done everything in her power. She's yelled, she's hit, she has done all things, put extra people at home just to make sure that everything is going smoothly, just to make sure successful for her. But it seemed like the more she did, the worse it got. And during the session, one of the things that I helped her to realize, or I tried to, examine with her was what system is running your home that was running her home that seemed to contradict every single thing that she wanted. That's why she kept on getting the results, deliver the results that realizing. Okay, we are back. I had to navigate another networking, but we are back. So I was sharing with you about the parent I recently worked with who came to me exasperated, seeking solutions, seeking to understand why, in spite of everything she was doing her very best. But of course, your best is not necessarily what is required. And so long as you are not aligning with what is required, to get results that fall quite far from what it is that you expect. But like I said earlier, one of the things that I helped her uncover was we tried to diagnose the system that was running her home, the system that was in place that she did not realize she had installed unintentionally. Right, because like I said, whether you are intentional about building a system or you are not, you haven't built one to the best of your knowledge, there is a system that is running your home. And the result you're going to get will depend on what that system produces. So you might be wondering, what is this system thing I'm talking about? Many parents are trying hard, but still not getting results. And of course, effort alone is not enough, right? You have to be doing the right things in order to get the right results. So what you need is a system that works. It's a system that is built on the values that you probably have or you want to see inculcated into the characters of your children. That's what you want running your home. So what is a system? What is this system thing all about? Now, a system is simply the invisible patterns, the repetitions, the framework that is running your home. Every home has a pattern. Every home has a rhythm. And what is this rhythm? Do you know that sometimes there are certain behaviors in your children that you have unintentionally trained them to behave that way, even though it's something you don't want? For example, you might have unintentionally trained your children to only move when you start yelling, right? You might have trained your children to only do when you remind. You might have trained your children, to only wait until someone comes to enforce before they do what it is that they already know that they have to do it, but they're going to wait for you to enforce it before they do it. These are all systems. These are all unintentional systems because the parent is frustrated. The parent is not happy that they have to be the human alarm clock. They have to be the ones reminding you all the time. They have to be the ones, insisting that the child go do what they have to do. They have to yell every time. Some parents say, if I don't yell, nothing gets done, right? That's true. You're yelling, you're tired, you're the one getting the headaches, but then you don't enjoy that process. But then the system that you have installed is what is driving those reactions, is what is driving the results that you're getting. So you either have systems that drive peace or you have systems that are driving chaos. You either have systems that are driving cooperation or you have systems that constantly bring resistance from your children. These are all things that you build unintentionally. So the system in place, is it working for you or is it working against you? So let me know from you in the comments, right? If you've ever felt like you're doing everything, you're working hard as a parent, doing all in your power to ensure that your kids are able to do what they have to do without you needing to remind them. You're doing everything to ensure that they are, that there's peace in your home, but you constantly have to yell. The kids are always seem confused. If you on your parenting journey and you have gotten extremely frustrated from it, let me see you in the comments, right? Let me see you put the thumbs up on in the comment section because it's pretty common. Most of the parents who come seeking help usually have this as complaint number one, right? There's always chaos in my home. In the morning, I have to shout. After school, I need to shout. The kids don't seem to be able to do anything unless I drive them with my yelling. So I try my best not to yell, but I eventually get there because nothing gets done until I raise my voice. I can relate. That's not something that is uncommon. It's pretty common. Most parents are exactly where you are. But staying where you are is a choice. And I hope that you choose differently today. That's why we're going to be looking at systems, right? Three systems that you need to intentionally build in your home that will make your parenting a lot more easier. Now imagine a scenario where your kids are able to, get their chores done without you needing to yell or without you needing to remind them all the time, or your kids are able to be proactive. A parent once told me about how she stepped out to go, I think, to go visit a friend or for a church meeting. I can't remember exactly why. And there were clothes dried at the back of the house, and it started raining. And her kids just sat there and they did nothing about it, right? So rain messed up the clothes, some fell on the floor, got into the mud, and when she came back, she was livid. She was annoyed. She was red hot. She was really angry, right? And she was like, "Why can't they just be proactive? I mean, who needs to remind children to pick up clothes when it's raining?" So you're like, but what, are these children not thinking? And you have teenagers amongst them. These are not kids who are, very dependent. These are kids who should already be super helpful in the home, but they don't move until I tell them what to do. And that can easily happen when you have trained your children to always wait until you do the thinking for them. So you could have created a system that has caused your children not to be able to think. And this can be shocking because you keep on complaining about how your kids can take initiative, but you don't also realize that the system in your home might have, primed them not to take initiative. Why? Let me give you simple examples. Now, how many times have your kids maybe tried to do something on their own? Take initiative, maybe try to pick the clothes from the line. And in the course of doing so, some fell and got in the mud, right? So they saw the rain and they rushed there to go pick up the clothes for you. But in the course of doing that, some fall into the mud, some get messed up, some just fall along the way. But they managed to pick a good quantity of it. Now, most parents, when they come back and they're like, "Did you go pick the clothes?" "Yes." And then she sees some with mud on it. What happened? Why can't you people be more careful? What kind of children are these? So they managed to take initiative and you still got upset. They don't take initiative and you still get upset. So what side are you going to prefer to be on? Right? It's going to seem like it's safer to not do anything at all and not, risk making a mistake that's going to get you into trouble. So sometimes parents, install some of these systems in their homes without realizing that they are creating a setup that will keep them continuously frustrated, constantly frustrated. So I'm going to be looking at some three systems that you need to intentionally build that will help you reset some of these things that are in place in your home that keep you yelling or keep you frustrated all the time. So why is it that systems are important? Now you must realize that for a child's character to be formed, they need to repetitively practice certain things. If they are repetitively practicing what installs negative character, then that's what's going to be in their character. If they repetitively practice something that is positive, right, like practice honesty, practice kindness, practice devotion, or being prayerful, that gets installed. So it is repetition that builds character. Every action your child gets to engage in repetitively, positive or negative, ends up in their character. So it means that consistency is one of the most important parenting tools. You need to be alert. You need to be conscious about what you are consistently doing as a parent, but also what your kids are consistently doing, because that ends up shaping their character. So without systems that you've intentionally built, your children might actually find themselves or they might be, you might be consistent in the wrong things. For example, constant yelling. Constant yelling creates an atmosphere of, fear, where the kids cannot take initiative because they don't want you to yell. Who is comfortable with yelling? Not even you. Imagine you as an adult at your job site, your boss is always yelling. How do you feel? How is the environment at the workplace? It's uncomfortable. Same thing at home, right? If you are an adult and you're working with a boss that constantly yells at you, you will always be confused, always be scared, not really comfortable with taking initiative because you're scared that if I do the wrong thing, they're going to yell at me. So I better just, it's going to limit your thinking. Same thing at home. If you're constantly yelling, or that's what if that's what you're consistent with, that's the environment that you're building, right? That's the system that is working in your home. And of course, it's not going to give you the results that you want. Your kids might end up, constantly telling lies to get out of trouble, or constantly not wanting to take initiative because they don't want to get into trouble. They don't want you to yell at them. So remember that I said the system is an invisible pattern or framework that runs your home, right? That is what is at the back of the training you're giving. And every result that you're getting is as a result of the system that is in place, good or bad, intentional or unintentional. And without these systems, parenting, without the right systems, your parenting will always be exhausting, right? You're always tired, you're always drained. There's some parents who don't look forward to going home after at the end of a long work day because you know that by the time you get home, you're going to see something that will trigger you, trigger your yelling or trigger you to get upset. And many parents find this very, very, very draining. So think about, for example, the last 24 hours in your home. What From everything you've heard me share just now, what have you realized is maybe a pattern that seems to be going on and on? Maybe your kids never do chores until you yell. Maybe your kids don't take initiative. Maybe your kids, are always just not cooperating until you do something to move them out of their comfort zone, right? So just think about what system is in your home that is probably giving the results that you do not want. What is it that you're hoping will change? So just hold that thought as we go to look at the three hidden systems that should make parenting a lot easier for you. So the first system that you need to intentionally build in your home is the structure system. Of course, structure has to do with setting the right rhythm, right, and bringing order into your home. There's no parent who would tell me that they don't want more order in their home or they don't want peace in their home, right? There's nobody who is happy with chaos or confusion, or who is happy to constantly keep yelling. We all want peace. We all want parenting to be much. So let's see how structure can help you accomplish that. So children thrive when they know what is expected of them. Um, Sometimes we don't realize that the reason our kids fall short of what it is that we want them to do is because they probably haven't understood or they probably don't remember. We don't really think in that dimension because as parents, we feel like when we've said it once and the few times we say it twice, it should become law, right? The child should remember. There's no reason why you would not remember. We don't realize that even us adults, sometimes, even out there, maybe at your job site, sometimes your boss says something once, twice, you still forget. But you are an adult with a full grown brain. They want more of a child with a younger brain, right? There's a tendency for them to forget, to get distracted, to be derailed from what it is that you had asked them to do. So, with all of this in mind, you need to be intentional about setting a system that clearly communicates your expectations, whether you are there or not. That's what the structure system is all about. It's about using schedules, routines, a value system, and rules to communicate your expectations, but also help your children know exactly what to do, when, and how. It helps the children understand what behaviors are expected from them, what is not acceptable. And you're going to say, oh, but I always tell them, I always tell them, no lies telling here. I always tell them we do our chores. Yes, you say it verbally, but imagine that God had to tell us everything about how to live, by just saying it verbally. Imagine God came to you one night, right, when you're, in your dream, and just revealed to you everything He wanted you to do, and did not leave a blueprint that you can consult to remind yourself of what it is that He expects. Even God gave us a manual. He gave us something that is meant to guide us, meant to remind us of what it is that we are expected to do, and what behaviors, right, are aligned with what it is that He has called us to be. So now take that back to your home. If you only say that you've told your kids what to do, I've told them, I've always told them, you keep telling them, but then where's the blueprint that they can consult? Where's the manual? Where is the thing that they can refer to even when you're not there, to help them remember? Because even you as an adult still forgets some of the things that you have to do. So more so for children. So, with structure, you're going to be able to create a rhythm in your home that helps your children be able to repeat the same things over and over. Another reason why the training that we give our children might be inconsistent is because we are constantly changing our minds. Today, you're trying to focus on line telling. Tomorrow, you're focusing on, I don't know, integrity. The next day, you're focusing on hard work. You're just always everywhere, right? Without the system that helps you repeat the same things over and over and over, you would struggle with really shaping or emphasizing particular values into the character of your children. So it's important to build a structure system, right? I have a guide on that. If you're interested, you can always send me a chat, and I'm going to get the guide across to you. So with structure, you're able to create a rhythm, right? Rhythms are about repetition, a pattern, a system that helps you repeat the same things, because consistency needs structure. You cannot be consistent when there is no framework, right, that helps you do the same things repeatedly over time. And it's that repetition that passes a consistent message to your child and eventually shapes their character, right? So the first thing is structure. But I think one of my favorite aspects of structure, or advantages of setting up structure, is the fact that it helps those who step in when you step out know exactly how to continue guiding your children even in your absence. Many parents don't realize that when they step away, those who step in, even if it's family, right, they might end up communicating a completely different message from what you have been emphasizing in your home. And that creates confusion for your children. So, is this behavior okay or not okay? Because sometimes, even with the same parents, right, two parents in a home, kids get different messages about behavior. The father tolerates this, the mother doesn't tolerate that. The mother tolerates this, father doesn't tolerate that. So, what does the child learn? The child learns that this behavior is okay. It just depends on who is available at the time. That's confusion. So, is it okay to do this, or is it not okay altogether? There's going to be a mixed signal, all right? And that causes you to raise a child who will be one person in one place and someone else in another place. Complete lack of integrity. So, you want to have a unified message, whether you're there or you're not. That's what structure helps you do. This behavior is not acceptable regardless of who is available. Why? Because the structure helps you communicate even with those who are stepping in to help you when you're not there, to know exactly how to guide your kids, to know exactly what kind of training to continue to give them even in your absence. What is acceptable and what is not, because the structure system tells them all of that. So it's a system of about four components. You put it all together, it helps significantly, right, to ensure that there is order in the home, to ensure that there is a rhythm in your home, that there is a pattern that is not constantly broken, confusing your children. Now, I'm going to give you a simple example, something that I see very often given the fact that I get to work with so many parents privately handling different issues. One thing that I've noticed, particularly with kids who have screen addiction, is how the parent is so sure that they have taken away all screens. The parent is sure. I ask the parent, okay, we discussed. My child lacks focus. My child has speech problems. And we actually go to the root of it to find out that the baby, maybe the child, started being exposed to screens very early. And the parents say, oh, I heard you talk about screens, or I heard about screens from somewhere else, so I stopped the screens. And the child is no longer using a lot of screens. I'm like, okay, are you sure? The parent says yes. So, okay, fine. Because I would always walk through the system in the home with the parent. Because, like I said, the system running your home is usually hidden. If you've not intentionally built one, there is already a system there. Whether you built it or not, there is one there. But we usually go through it. I take them through a process to help them troubleshoot the system in place. One of the things we often find out with kids who have addiction is that when the parent steps out, those who step in usually engage the child with the screen. Why? Because it's easier, right? It's easier. So the nanny coming in knows that when I give this child my phone, the child will sit there for 2 hours and not disturb me while I'm doing my work. So even though you've said no screens, you've taken away screens from the child when you're there, but when you are not there, the person who steps in still indulges the child with the screen. So that's a system. So do you see that there are gaps? So the parent has tried to create something that helps to take the child away from the screen, help to reduce screen time. But those who are coming in after the parent install it again, and the child keeps getting the negative effects and you're like, where is it coming from? I thought I took it away, but I still see the child is not making any progress. And we troubleshoot and find out that the screen is still there, but just not given by you. So structure helps you to be able to create a system that helps your children to get consistent training. That when you step out, what steps in does not contradict what you have been doing, but aligns with it. So structure, and it re-enhances communication, not just between you and your children, but between you and those who are stepping in to help you with the care of your children. It's a huge gap when you're not intentional about this. Without structure, it will be hard to communicate. It will be hard to pass one message to children. That whether you're there or not, daddy says the same thing, mama says the same thing. Why? Because there's a system. You have all agreed on the system. You've all agreed on what should be and what should not be. Now, the second system you need to install intentionally in your home is an accountability system. Now, this one might be foreign to so many of us, right? Accountable about what? Accountable to who? Because many parents say, is my child. I gave birth to him. You will not come and tell me how to raise my child. Oh, yes, nobody can tell you how to raise your child. And that's exactly why it is very easy to go very far in the wrong direction on your parenting journey for exactly that same reason, because nobody can tell you what to do. So that means that even when you're going, imagine you're going on a journey, right? You have a map and you are following the map according to you. But unknown to you, at some point, you deviate and you're going in the wrong direction from where you intend to arrive at. But you have a sign on your chest that says, I don't want to, nobody should talk to me. I don't need your help. I'm on my own. Just let me be. Who's going to disturb you? Nobody will disturb you, right? You just keep going in the wrong direction. You're going to end up wherever you end up and do all the work to try to come back by yourself. That's what happens when parents proceed with parenting without any form of accountability. Not to God, not to even those around them. They just want to just do anything anyhow. They don't want any help. So without accountability, parenting is easily driven by your comfort, because the best results on your parenting journey lie outside of your comfort zone. Parenting is hard work. Purposeful parenting is hard work. But accountability is what will help you do what you must, even when you don't feel like it. Let me go back to the example I used earlier. The child and the screen. The child has an addiction. Why is the nanny still giving the child the screen? Because when the child has the screen, her work is more convenient, right? Her life is more convenient. Her job is more convenient. But what happens when she takes away the screen from the child? The child will be interrupting, the child will be touching things, making a mess, running out of the house, going everywhere. It's harder. But is that what the child needs to be better? Yes. So what the child needs is outside of comfort. And the same goes with almost everything about proper parenting. It's not convenient. It's not convenient. Just think about a nursing mom, right? When your baby is still, let's say, 1 month old, before they even get to 1 month old, a few days old, they wake up to eat at very inconveniencing times when you're sleeping are heavy. I don't know. Are there any nursing mothers here? Please let us know what the experience is. Remind us of what that experience is. Sleep is something that you only dream about because most of the time the child is waking you up to feed, waking you up to feed, waking you up to change the diaper, and you only get like 1 to 2 hours sleep every now and then. And that's hard. But is that what that child needs at that stage? Yes. So as children grow, parenting doesn't get more convenient. The inconvenience remains because most of what you need to do as a parent, right, that is right for your child, is outside of comfort. Now, when parenting becomes so comfortable, you're doing something wrong. I wish I could tell you otherwise. If it becomes so comfortable, right, it's so easy. You can go anywhere you want, you can do anything you want, you are definitely doing something wrong. Imagine as a parent, you can, and of course, some parents actually build systems that permit them to go anywhere at any time they want. Why? They have too many people helping them at the same time. So they are just engaged with everything outside of the home. They're always running up and down, and the child never gets to, or hardly ever gets to see them. So parenting without accountability leaves important tasks at the mercy of your moods. Parenting without accountability will leave the important parts or tasks of your parenting at the mercy of your mood. One of the reasons why parents correct their children inconsistent. Today you shout, tomorrow you beat, the next day you ignore. Silent treatment. You're just trying anything. What are they doing? They're doing what is convenient for them based on how they feel. The day they are tired, they'll just sigh and walk away. The day they are feeling good, they'll beat very well. The day they are feeling irritated from work, they yell. So you're just you're correcting in any way that is just convenient for you at the moment. So when you don't have any system that holds you accountable, right? Am I showing up? Am I doing what I should? Am I training? Am I putting in the right things? When you're not doing those things, when you're not able to have a system that can help check. Can your children be able to say, Mom, you promised this and you didn't do it without you blowing up? Can your kids say, Mom, you've been yelling too much recently without you getting angry? Can your children hold you accountable for the parenting that you're doing to them? Children are one of the, children are great accountability partners when you make them accountability partners. Even your spouse can help you about, be more accountable with your parenting. So it's important to build an accountability, a system that helps you stay in check, a system that helps you go do what is important, not because you feel like, but because you must. I'm sure you are all going to agree with me, especially for those who have young kids, right? They are brutal when it comes to reminding you about what you promised. Let me hear you in the comments, right? Kids are brutal when it comes to remind. Mama, you said you would do this now. Mama, you said you were going to. Mama, you have not. Until the parent eventually gets angry and shuts them up. But kids are very good at holding you accountable. If you give them a voice, they're going to hold you accountable. If you tell your kids you're working on your yelling and you are constant, they'll say, Mama, but you said you're working on your yelling now. What's happening? You've been yelling everywhere, or they'll tell you, Mama, this thing that you're doing is not good. They will. But have you given them a voice? Have you created a system where those around you can hold you accountable? Any leader that cannot be counseled is a leader headed for destruction. Because any leader that is not open to any form of counsel, you are the all and all. What you say is final. What you do is permanent. Nobody can say anything. Nobody can do anything. Your word is yes and amen. That's the highway to destruction. That's the highway to getting results that will only come back to frustrate you. Because you find yourself often in the zone of convenience. You only want to do what is comfortable, right? You only do it when you feel like it. Your parenting your parenting finds itself at the mercy of your moods when you do not have an accountability system. So how do you set up one? First, you can empower your children. Sometimes when you're working on something, let your kids know. Give them a voice. Teach them how to approach you respectfully, but to be able to say what it is that they're not happy with. Many parents have never asked their kids, what do you think about me as a mom? As a matter of fact, last weekend was my due time to hold an accountability session with my children. We had an accountability session where I asked them to give me a report. Why? Because I cannot see myself. There are times when life is happening as a parent, when you're busy, when you're up and my kids told me at when we were doing a review at the end of last year, they said, Mom, they gave me my report card. They said, you've been absent, you've been coming late a lot recently. And they actually gave their account. They said during movie nights when we are having family time, you're always sleeping. You don't even what movie do you watch next? Can you tell us a movie? I couldn't even open my mouth. Why? Because what they were saying was exactly my report card. But they could only do that because I'd actually empowered them. We have empowered our kids to be able to do that. There was a time when my kids told my husband that he's yelling too much. And this was during a family meeting. They gave him his report card. So Daddy, you're always shouting, Daddy. They told him exactly as it was. And when he had improved, they said, Daddy has improved so much. Daddy is no longer yelling. That's accountability. So imagine now how, as a parent, when you're going about your task or your role as a parent, you're conscious that you know your kids are watching. They too will hold you accountable. If you make a promise, they will hold you to it. My kids will tell you, Mama, you promised this thing, but till now I've not seen anything. You know, and they will tell you when you're actually doing what you said you would do. One of the things I always ask my kids is, Mama says you do, right? And they will say, yes. Why? Because, I'm aware. You must always leverage the pressure of expectations. When kids have certain expectations, that can be leveraged to hold you accountable. So don't put yourself on a pedestal of perfection where nobody can tell you anything, nobody can approach you. Even your kids cannot even say, Mom, the way you've been doing recently, this is how you're treating us. Can your kids be able to approach you and give you an account of what they have witnessed of you as their parent? If you're lacking such an accountability system, then you are leaving your parenting to the vulnerable to your moods. It's so crucial. One of the things we do on the 1 year program, one of the programs I offer, whether it's my mentorship program or it's the 1 year program or the short courses, right? We try to build and help the parents be accountable, because without accountability, you will easily fall back into your comfort zone. You will easily fall back. That pressure of knowing that someone expects you to bring something can help you go outside of comfort to do what you said you were going to do. Because sometimes life will be happening. You promised, but then let me just leave it this one time. One time becomes two times, becomes three times, becomes four, until your kids no longer trust you anymore because you never do what you said you're going to do. But what if your kids could be able to hold you accountable when you miss the first time? And they help you realize that, oh, this really matters to them. They are keeping score. That's going to help you do better. That's going to help you show up. It's so important that you have a system that holds you accountable. All right. So set up one. Give your children a voice. Let your partner know what you're working on. Let your partner know I'm trying to be, more present. So my family had to help me by Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. There was a challenge with the network. Again, we have switched to another network, but we're right back. All right. So someone write for me in the comments. Let me know that you're following. Parenting without accountability leaves important tasks at the mercy of your moods. Don't leave your parenting at the mercy of your mood, because you're going to find yourself always trying to be comfortable. If you're tired, you will not help with the homework. If you are drained, you don't check the chores. So there are certain things that you're supposed to do as a parent that you should not leave at the mercy of the mood you're in. Don't leave your parenting at the mercy of your mood. So with accountability, you and your children can follow through consistently in building, what is most important for you and your family. All right. So create family agreements, create a family system where you constantly review what's happening. One of those systems is burials or what happened with the family junkie. No, this is where you sit down to discuss what is happening within your home, how the governance in your home is going, what activities are going on in your home, and is that getting you all to where you want to be? One of the platforms that truly helps with accountability is the family meeting. Whenever family meeting is coming up, on that platform, our kids are free to say whatever. They are free to query any aspect of the family that's not working for them. They're free to query that. And that helps us, my husband and I, be accountable. Because our kids, they'll tell you, very honest, they'll tell you, this is what happened on this day. I don't think it was okay. I don't think it was nice. They'll tell you exactly what it is that is not working for them. So it helps us be accountable as parents to how we are using our time, to the training we are putting, on ground, to exactly what it is that we have to deliver as parents. But we also hold them accountable as well. It's not just for the parents, but for them as well. That's also where we discuss, certain things that are falling through the gaps and how they can be better. So it's a great platform that can truly help improve accountability and truly give your children a voice to be able to speak up because they are the ones you're parenting. They see things about you that you might not be able to know yourself. Trust me, children know their parents so well, probably more than you do. Your children probably know you as a parent more than you do. They can tell you your tendencies, tell you, children study their parents so as young as toddlers, they know their parents so well. They study you. They know when they can easily get away with something. They know when, they can come and ask and you are most likely to give. I knew my father so well. I could tell the moment I could go and ask for hard things and they'll give it to me. So children study their parents so well. So don't bypass that opportunity to have your children as your accountability partners and help you be better as a parent and help you parent outside of your comfort zone and truly show up for your kids, right? To provide training that will indeed impact or shape their character positively. Right now, the third and final system is a support system. It takes a village to raise a child. Those of you following me for a while will know that I've been talking about, you have to build a village. You need a village to raise your child. You do need a village to raise your child, especially in a busy world. Now, many parents will wait until there is a crisis to start running helter skelter, looking for where they will keep that child. And I cannot tell you how many parents have landed into the wrong hands, have left their kids in the wrong hands. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Because you do not anticipate and prepare for such a situation. You know, there's this story of I think the grasshopper and the ant. Yeah, I think it's the grasshopper. I don't know if any of you here knows that story. It's a story that even parents need to really be able to think about when it comes to this issue of support. The grasshopper was there all summer, playing his guitar, I think, having fun, enjoying the sun, while the ants were busy working, keeping food. And I think the grasshopper was mocking the ants. I'm sure some of us know that story. You must have read it to your kids. If you haven't, then please, you need to. All right. It talks about anticipating and preparation. That's exactly the message behind that story. The grasshopper was busy having fun, laughing at the ants while they are working so hard. And when winter came, the ants had food, and the grasshopper never even had a warm place to stay. I think I got the story right. It's been a while since I read that story. All right. So it's a purposeful parent must be able to anticipate challenges. You know that life will happen. Something might come up. And as an emergency, you might need to have someone step in to help you with your kids. Never go about parenting as if you can do all and be all for your children because it does take a village to raise a child. You're going to need support, especially for parents today, homes today where both parents are working full time. For some of those homes, when a nanny is not available and you have to work, you don't have leave, you don't have permission, what do you do with your kids? What do you do with them at that time? Do you have a backup system? Who is going to step in to support? I've had parents tell me, I just had to go and keep my kids with the neighbor, and this is exactly what happened. I've never done that before, but I was in a corner. I didn't know what to do. There was a parent I worked with who told me about how she had to take her baby, I think 4 months old or so, to a daycare center she had never been to. She didn't even know who was there, but she was in a corner. She had no choice. Before you get to that place where you have no choice, you need to have thought of, what if this comes up? What would I do? Who can step in if I step out? You know, especially for those who have nannies that are paid or that come and go. There could be a day when the nanny doesn't show up. What happens then? You have to anticipate. That could happen because the person helping you is a human being as well. Things do come up. So this mother with this 4 month old, found herself in a situation where the nanny didn't show up. She had never thought of who would help her with the 4 month old baby. She was due at work. She had a big meeting that she would have gotten fired for that. That's her only source of livelihood. Now she has a 4 month old. She doesn't know what to do. She just popped into one daycare center and had to leave the child there. And I think that day, well, I think when she reached out to me, she was really upset. I can't believe I did this. What if I'm like, you see, this is why, as a parent, one of the things, if you have a baby, right, and you have that kind of, you're in an environment where there's no one, there's no family that you can and even with family, you must be able to vet the people. You can't just go and drop because it's family, you just go and leave your child. Remember that the most likely people to abuse a child are those that the child knows. It's not the stranger you're most afraid of, it's the person that you know. Because when the child is comfortable with someone, that's the person who is most likely, who can very easily abuse the child. So I told her, as soon as this day is done, one thing that you must do is that you have to have visited the daycare centers around, just in case you find yourself in this kind of situation. I usually work with mothers who just give birth. I usually help them realize that, when you're going back to work, what happened? Most of them will say, well, I've not really thought about it, but when we get there, we'll see. So you're a full-time working mom, you're breastfeeding, you have a newborn, and you had 9 or 10 months of pregnancy, and you have not thought of what will happen when you have to resume work. And most of them have 12 weeks of maternity leave. Some offices give 12 weeks. Some, I think the government is 3 months, but most private sectors is 12 weeks. So what happens then? How would you continue breastfeeding or not? Who's going to help you with the baby? Where do you keep your baby? You have not thought about it, and you're living in an urban city. You have no family. What happens then? Are you planning to quit? No, I can't quit my job. Okay, so what happens to your baby? Because the baby is not going anywhere. The baby is here to stay. So what happens then? You haven't thought about a support system. The other end of the spectrum are parents who are trying to do everything by themselves. They don't think that help is necessary, particularly when you have maybe 3, 4 kids and they are young and you work, your spouse works, both of you are working full time, and you have small children. Maybe you have just one nanny, or you even some I've met homes where the mother is probably doing business and she's flexible, so she affords to, I'll just manage them by myself. But what happens is when you have that kind of a system, you are constantly drained because you're handling business. You have 3 small children. Yes, they go to school, they give you some small breathing. When they come back, you're the one to figure out the cooking, figure out the cleaning, do all of that work by yourself. What happens at the end of the day? You don't have patience for childish behavior. You will not have it anymore. Why? Because every time the kids are coming back from school, after meeting all the wahala in school, they bring it to the house. You're already empty. You have lost all your patience already. You've lost all tolerance. You are drained. You are tired. You don't have time for any nonsense, as many parents would call it. All right. So you need a support system. You need to be intentional about, do I need help? How available am I as a parent? And availability is not just about physical, right? Because you could be there physically, but emotionally you're absent. Why? Because you're tired. I shared a story, I think yesterday or the day before on Facebook, talking about a parent who reached out to me asking for help because she's constantly irritated with her children. 3 kids. Constantly irritated. She says she can't, even though she really wants to help. But every time the kids start with the crying, or they just spill something, or they just make mistakes, small mistakes, she just gets mad and she can't understand it. And I had to make her understand that, hey, you work full time. You're not a machine. You're a human being. You work by the time you're coming home, and her work is very, very hectic. By the time you're coming home, you're not a machine. You've not had time to rest. You're tired, and then you come and meet 3 small children who have missed you all day. And that's the time when everybody's fighting for your attention. They are auditioning for your attention. So you will see all the naughtiness. You will see everybody wants to be carried, and you're tired. And there's no one else to help you at home, because as she's stepping in, the nanny is going away. So at the time when she needs help the most, there's no one to support her. So of course you're going to be always irritable because there's no room made for you to fill your cup, even a little bit, right? Even by just taking a bath. There are parents who go home and there's no breathing space. The children are just on your on your body from the time you step in till when they go to bed. It's just constant mama this, mama that, and it's draining. And you wonder why you can't be a patient, a calm, or a kind parent. Fortunately, our course on emotional intelligence is coming up. You should sign up if you're not yet registered for that course. Trust me, emotional intelligence is a key skill that every parent must build because parenting is an emotional journey. Your emotions will be triggered. You will find yourself in positions where you need to be patient and calm and kind, but you don't feel like it. Why? You're irritated, you're exhausted, and yet your child is demanding for connection in that moment. How do you navigate without first addressing your own emotions? So many parents don't know how to address their own emotions before they can, give that calm space to their child, before they can be a guide for their child. So stop trying to be all and do all. Purposeful parents prepare ahead so they can show up calm and present. So always reflect, right? What if I'm unavoidably absent? Who can I turn to? Who can step in? And there's nobody else. You must think of, for example, if you have no one, you should have visited the daycare centers around you because they are, we don't have a lot of them here in Cameroon. Sorry, not 24/7. We have, I think, up to 8 p.m. at night. There are crashes here in Douala that can keep children right up to 8 p.m. You have to visit. At least know that what that you should be able to know what to ask. Those who are attending my back to school sessions, I actually taught on this. What to check when you go to visit a daycare center. What are the things that, what are the red flags I should look out for? And how can you be sure that this is going to be a safe place for my child? You never know. The day might come where you might be in a corner and you need someone to help you with your child. And you will not just go and leave your child with the store attendant. Parents have told me, there was this day I had to leave my child at the store. One store. I don't really know the man, but I had to just keep my child there because there was nothing I could do. Imagine how uncomfortable you'll be wherever you are, knowing that you've left your child with a stranger that you've never even vetted before, and you just had to leave your child there. I'm not judging any parent who's had to do this. This is not me judging. This is me saying, things like that can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone. But being purposeful means that you anticipate that something like that could happen at some point. What will you do? Who can step in? Or else, are you preparing your kids to be able to lead them? So that's the other end, and that's what structure helps you do as well. It can help you, for those who have bigger kids, be able to prepare your kids for moments like that. How far can your children go without you? That's a question every parent must ask every now and then because life could happen, something could happen, and you're unavoidably absent for a period of time, and your kids were not prepared for it, and there's chaos, this unrest. Wherever you are, you cannot have peace because you know that you're not sure what's happening to your children. So build both emotional support, right? Friends, family members, communities. Go check daycare centers around and be sure, ask yourself, if I'm not there, who can help? Right? If you're a parent who maybe doesn't have help at home and yet you're working full time and there's a lot to do at home, think about getting help. Even if it's just someone to help with the laundry, it doesn't have to be full time help. It could be someone to help with the housework, just so that you can have more time to be with your kids. All right. Many parents come back home at the end of the day, they're tired, they can't help with homework, they can't do anything because they still have to cook. Maybe at that night, she's still trying to cook, she's still trying to catch up with housework, and also your spouse. This is another thing I would love to talk about today. There are so many parents who are, I call them single married parents. They are they are married, but they are single parents. This is something that is so, I don't think we talk about it enough, right? They call them, I don't know if I should say married single parents or single married parents. So they are married quite all right, meaning that is a co-parent. Most of these women are married to their co-parents, but they are parenting absolutely alone. No support. The husband just I mean, it's not even something they worry about. Let her figure it out. But it's not like there's a problem with the couple. Marriage wise, they're fine. But when it comes to parenting, it doesn't even occur some of them to even help. And that's how the home of a single married parent runs. And it is draining. But one of the things I often tell mothers in particular is that don't just say he will not help. Request for help. Even if the person said no, your spouse said no before, doesn't mean they'll say no later. Some women just eventually just give up and don't just try to carry all of that weight by themselves. Children need two parents. So it's important that your support system has to also include your spouse. There are many homes where the husband does not even know how to change a diaper, and yet they have had like 4 kids. Does not know how to change a diaper. Talk less of mix a baby's formula. Now, this may not apply to every home, but I've worked with so many cases like this. All right. So I'm like, why not show him? You never know. Something could happen and you're unavoidably absent, and only your spouse is there, and he doesn't know anything about his own children. So it's something that we need to not only talk more about, but we also need to be proactive about it. Don't just say, he's a man. Sometimes the women just eventually get to a point where they just normalize that situation and they never ever ask for help. They just keep struggling alone, carrying all of that weight. But the thing is, if something should happen and you're not there, your kids are going to pay the price for failing, for you failing to build that support system. All right. So the first place to start is even your spouse. That's where to start from. Make sure that you are not just going about it as though everything should be on your shoulder, but you're also giving those invitations. Come let me show you how to change the baby's diaper. Come let me, do you know how to? This is how they make the formula. Just show it. You never know. You never know. You'll be doing your children a favor when you intentionally build a support system, when you intentionally ensure that you have people around you that you have vetted, that you have checked. You have checked their values, you check how they're raising their own, you check their home environment. At least some information. You think that this is a place where I could keep my child if something should happen. So don't leave it to chance. Okay. All right. So which of these three systems that I've talked about feels weakest in your home right now? The good news is that you can build it. This is why we organize trainings, all right? Because sometimes there are things that you can easily overlook as a parent, not because you don't think they're important, because you just didn't think about it. Many parents don't sit there thinking, who will step in for me if I'm not there? Because somehow we just believe that we'll always be there. But I'm sure we know, right? I don't need to tell you that sometimes, even though everybody wants to be there for their kids, sometimes that's just not possible. That's just not possible. What will happen if you're not there? That's why you have to be intentional about that support system. How much are you handling as a parent? Does it make you a constantly irritable parent because you're constantly tired? Then you need help. You need help. I remember I was working with a single parent sometime, I think last year or the year before last, and she has a full-time job. She has, I think, 2 or 3 kids, and she's a single parent, you know. And she told me she was constantly, I said, you're irritated because you're tired all the time. And you are not a machine. So I told her, get help. Get someone that can even prepare spices for you to just come and cook, that can at least mop the floor and do the laundry and help take off some of the load from your plate so that your children can have a nurturing and warm mother who is not constantly angry at everybody for no reason. Not because you're a bad parent, but because you are drained. So building a system is a gift to your children. You have to build these 3 systems will be a great gift to your children because it ensures that they have a great parent. These are systems that successful parents are intentional about building in their homes. I'm open to take any questions. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. We have 5 minutes before we shut down. I always take questions at the end. If you have enjoyed the session, let me see you throw a thumbs up in the comments. Share this with someone else. I'm sure that there's something I've shared here that could be a blessing to someone else. Please invite someone else to watch. You can share the link with other parents. This is actually our open session. It's not restricted by, it's open for any and everyone. So you can share the link on your social media platforms or, with someone else you believe can be blessed by something we've shared here. And hey, our emotional intelligence course begins on Tuesday this week. If you haven't registered, you don't want to miss that class. All right. That's where you learn how to manage your emotions because your children will trigger them. At work, you'll be triggered. So you can't just go around being irritable and angry and, taking out your moods on everyone around you. You want to learn how can you be calm even when your child is doing things that are pushing you to the edge. How do you manage to stay calm in those moments? Because that's really how you can help and guide your own children. Because sometimes child gets angry, mother gets angry. In the end, who helps? Who helps who? So that cannot be done when both of you are in such a state. One person needs to keep their thinking brain online so that they can help the other person. And that can certainly not be the child because the toddler will just go and go and go. But you have to be the adult. And that entails you learning to control and manage your own emotions. So, if any of these systems are lacking, if I've shared something here that seems so far from where you are, please know that you are not failing. You are just running on a broken or accidental system, and you can work on a reset. You can actually build something that will help you get better results on your parenting journey. Of course, I could not incorporate things like the kind of systems that unintentionally trains children to use tantrums to get what they want, or to use their behavior to get what they want, or to wait until you shout, or to wait until you use force before they do what they have to do. That's also an exhausting system. But I promise you that one of the things I can promise you is that if you would at least start by building structure in your home, right? Get the guide. I've had people who have never taken a course of mine who only got the guide and wrote to me and said, "Wow, I've seen so much change in my home." And because of that, they signed up for a course because they saw the amount of impact that just building structure in their home using just the, I didn't teach them nothing. They just read. The guide is quite elaborate. It has examples. It has, it's very elaborate. You can read it, and even without talking to me, you can be able to set it up in your home. But now, how to make it work might be where you might need some help. So I encourage you, whenever you see a course, sign up, especially the 1 year program. That's where you get the highest value. And we are already onboarding for 2026-2027, which starts in December. Don't say it's far off. Because one thing I've noticed is that parents wait to the last minute and they're overwhelmed by the fee. The fee this coming for this coming edition is 100,000 francs. And if you break that down into small installments, it becomes easier for you to pay it up before the course begins. So, without any questions, I think we have come to the end of today's session. I look forward to seeing you again next week, Thursday, for another Thursday Live with me, with another engaging and exciting topic. What has been the highlight for you? Please share in the comments. We are very quiet today. All right. I'd like to also know who's here. Where are you tuning in from? Share with me in the comments, and please don't forget to subscribe. Right. Let's grow the channel. The more subscribers we have, the more this content will be shared, to many other people, and many others can have a chance to come across the amazing things we share on this channel. Thank you so much for your support and for showing up. I look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday again. Take care and bye.